Alright kids, today is the first day of soldering. We're going to end up making one of these circuits here with two LEDs in parallel on what you call a prototype board. Looks a little bit like this. You've been working with breadboards. Now that we're soldering, we're going to start doing some prototype boards. Your two LEDs will end up looking something like this.
The first thing you need to do is assemble all of your pieces into a prototype. There we go. And how's that? That's what we want. All right, so next we're going to actually put the pieces in the prototype board. Now this is not an exact science. I recommend you start with just the resistor and just kind of put it anywhere. All right, doesn't super matter what two holes you put it in. Like I've got mine like this, and it comes out to the back like this. Okay, now for the LEDs, once again, it doesn't super matter where you put these because you're going to connect it through these wires on the back. So I'm going to put the positive end right here, right below the resistor. So this is the positive end. And it goes, it's like in the same line as the resistor. Doesn't really matter because we'll correct anything afterwards. And now I'll put this one right below it. Okay, so instead of jumper wires like you had in the breadboard, what we're going to do is on the back here, we're going to connect these wires to each other. So like, for example, I will like bend one of these wires, this is the resistor, that it's touching the two LED wires, and I'll solder those together. Now I'll show you what I mean. For the soldering component, I recommend kind of bending these wires just a tiny bit, just that the LEDs and the resistor stay in place. So see if I kind of shake it, the pieces don't come out. And then turn it upside down to solder, or use your helping hand. And you can solder it like that, okay? All right, so let's solder this thing in place. So I've got my soldering iron, and it has been tinned. Make sure you wipe it on your sponge. And I'm ready to go, okay? Now is a good time for me to let you know that you really need safety goggles for this part because you could get solder in your eyes whenever you hit it like that, and you don't want that, trust me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the solder up to the hole, you see, and I'm just going to melt it with the soldering iron. It should kind of fall into the hole. It should fall into place. Now, like all things, it's going to take a few tries before you can get it to work. But you can kind of see, it's hard to see with the video, but do you all see that there's a little bit of solder inside of that hole? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of those LED wires. I'm going to bend it down so that it's touching the hole. Does that make sense? And I'm going to cover that with solder so that they are connected to each other. Okay, you might need some pliers if yours isn't connecting. So I'm going to use these pliers here. I'm going to stop with the helping hand real quick. And I am going to connect these two with the solder. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you can see. Is it in focus? Okay. That these two are now connected to each other with solder. All right. Now usually you do this at the very end, but you could do it right now, as you can kind of cut off the excess with your wire cutters now that these are connected. So there we go. So that, what I was doing there is I was connecting the positive lead of the battery to the resistor. Okay, so I'm going to do that for the rest of the circuit now. What I have here is I have gone from the red wire, it connects to the resistor through this wire here, it goes through the resistor, and then it connects to both of these LEDs, which you can see there's all on a row there. So then coming out of the LEDs, it goes to this black thing here. Okay, as you can see, they both connect to the black wire. So that's the circuit. Okay, so now let's hopefully it works. So let's have to redo this video. Well, how about that? Now the thing about prototype boards is you're gonna think, there's no way I'm doing this right. This is really messy. I just got globs of solder and weird wires going on. Listen, that's why they call it a prototype board. It's not gonna be pretty. Another note is you might be thinking, how do I lay this out? Well, there's infinite amount of ways you could. What maybe it would help you if you drew out the circuit on paper, if you looked at how it was in the breadboard. It's the same thing as the breadboard, except you're going to use these metal, the metal pin ends instead of using wires. I don't really use jumper wires, but you could if you wanted to. All right. That's about it. Good luck, kids. Make sure you're using safety goggles. Make sure that you're using your solder mat, and good luck.